Dear Heavenly Father, we're just thankful for this day. And today, Father, we want to pray especially for the leaders of our country. There's so much things going on in this world, and we just ask guidance for each one that they make right decisions. And help us to show love, Father, and care for everyone. There's so much hatred out there right now, and it's just tough to understand, but we always know that there's going to be sin in this world, and it's only through you that we have grace from that. Give us guidance today in our meeting, and help us be good stewards of our customers' money. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
There's no public comment. No
If I think it's
approval of minutes from May 14th, 2025 Facilities Committee meeting. Facilities members, do any of y'all have any questions about those? Can I have a motion to accept?
I make a motion we accept the previous meeting minutes.
Second.
Members of Facility Committee, all in favor? Passes 3-0. Minutes from the May 14th, 2025 Finance Committee meeting.
Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Motion carries 3-0. Next item is employee health insurance renewal. Mr. Burris. And
Yes, sir. I'll start, and then we'll turn it over to Ms. Katina Tyndall to go through the specifics with us here. But as you know, in fiscal year 2021, we converted from a self-funded insurance program with United Healthcare to fully funded to a self-funded program due to rising cost. During the 2024 renewal, we increased the individual stop loss per covered employee to $150,000. And just as a note, staff biweekly deductions have remained since they were from the most recent fully funded insurance renewal in 2021. As you can see in the table there, our costs have fluctuated a little bit over the last 3 years. 2025 is projected based off a year to date. However, going into fiscal year 2026, they're expected to jump, according to United Healthcare, $379,000. So I will turn it over to Ms. Tyndall to go through the reasons and the solutions to that, and then we'll talk about the deductions when we get done.
And let me just start by saying, I know you have a short agenda, so I'm going to run through this rather quickly, but that doesn't mean that I don't have additional time. So if anyone wants to reach out to me, I know we have a full commission at 2 today. Some of you come to me before, some of you come to me after, but if you do have any questions or need any clarification, just come to me and let me know. That additional amount of projected claims is not a real number. It's just what, based on current claims, the insurance company thinks might be coming over the next year. So that's not an actual increase. It is a projected increase of what they think might be and how they then made the decision on what they would offer on a renewal and what they would not. Do we have the slides?
Yes, if you scroll down. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, look at that. Thank you. Okay. All right. So you all received this last Friday. Since last Friday, and I think anyone who's been here for a couple years knows, sometimes we have things that'll change by the time we meet a few days later because we're in negotiations right in line with this meeting. So we actually had Mutual of Omaha come in and match the rates that MetLife offered. The reason that we're doing that is to try to keep it a little easier for the employees. So now we'll have 2 carriers instead of 3. By shopping that dental, vision, disability, and life insurance out, we will save quite a bit of money and end up with the same or better benefit. So this first slide just goes over the dental insurance. That is paid for somewhat by the employer and employee. The dental insurance is paid, the vision insurance is paid 100% by the employee. The employer paid for life insurance is paid for by the employer, and if you'll recall, a few years ago we moved from a flat, I think $50,000.
It was one-time salary previously.
One-time salary, okay, to a 3-time salary up to $150,000. So you all increased that quite a bit, and we're able to bring that down almost $12,000. So just by moving that to Mutual of Omaha, which was initially MetLife until Mutual got their pencil a little more sharpened, as we would like to say. The voluntary life insurance will also go with Mutual of Omaha, and they match those same rates. The voluntary short-term disability is actually going to be an improvement because currently the employees, if they choose not to elect the short-term disability initially, when they want to come on at the renewal or anytime during the year, they have to fill out a really long 3-page form. And I'm sure you know your staff, as busy as they are, love to fill out forms with the tiniest font that there ever could be, and all their information and sometimes medical records, which has caused employees who did not didn't choose the short-term disability a year ago or whenever it was to not fill out the paperwork and never get the benefit. I don't think that that's your intent by offering these benefits. And so what we were able to do with Mutual of Omaha is instead put in a pre-existing for anyone who comes on late, but it's just sign and drive. And that pre-existing is low. It's any condition from the last 3 months will not be covered for the next 6. So that keeps anyone from something major or even a pregnancy. They're still going to have that coverage, but they won't have those forms any longer. And from Vanessa and her team at Teamwork Services that take care of all that administration, it's just going to be better for the employees, and we match the benefits. So it's an improvement there. And then the long-term disability that you all fund in whole is $2,852 less. So all of that is a win, and we will take care of all of that internally. The experience for the employees is that they will have the same dental and vision card, but the back end of the life insurance and the disability will all be taken care of for them at a savings and a benefit of improvement. The next thing we have at the bottom is just a look at your claims. We can see that on your claim spend, you have, it's kind of daunting, 47.27% of your claims are just prescription drugs. Almost half of your spend is prescription drugs. We have 2 employees that annualized are at about $425,000 of just 2 drugs. So unfortunately, that's just what we're seeing, trends in the market. We are working on a program to do international sourcing, 340B pricing, and some other things that will be a no-cost opportunity for us to look at to try to get rid of some of that spend or get that down. And that just means while we wait to see if our government ever makes any changes, which could take quite a long time, that we will actually put a program in that will help the employees find a way that $300,000 medication is not $300,000, whether that means we're having to buy it from a manufacturer in Canada, or whether that means that we're using manufacturer coupons or working directly with the pharmacy companies. That's all something that we are working on and we'll do in the next couple months to try to implement. It won't have an impact on the employees getting those drugs, but it might have an impact on the potential savings, because at this point we really have to do something. Just 3 years ago we were at 27% and we were pretty knocked out by that. Any questions?
Is that feasible to go ahead and forward with that?
We're running those. We needed to wait until we had another month of claims to come in, and then we'll send that to the company. Some companies are fee for service. They'll charge you for it. Some will take a percentage of the savings. It behooves us to take the percentage of savings most of the time, but we're going to look at a couple of different companies and what they each offer. What we don't want to do is have an employee have to go to the pharmacy and be turned away and not be able to get their medications. We don't want to change the experience for them. Some of these medications are cancer medications, gene therapy medications. I shared with Mrs. Roberts and Mr. Burrows in our meetings that the FDA has a pipeline. The average retail annual cost of a medication coming out of the FDA is $300,000 a year. So there's no slowdown. And it's not just cancer. It's those genetic, some of them are cures. They're cures, but they're at a cost. And so what you all have done over the last few years is you have greatly improved the benefit program for your staff, which is wonderful. But unfortunately, it comes at a cost, and the insurance companies are going to make their money. That house will always win, and unfortunately, that's sort of what we're looking at now.
The other day when I spoke to Mr. Burrows, that was my first question: is what's driving the increase in cost? And
Yes,
he
sir.
Texted back, the drugs were the thing, the prescriptions were the thing.
Yes,
But
sir.
our numbers aren't particularly abnormal, right? They're pretty much in line.
They're a
with the
little
industry.
higher, but that's only because your group is smaller. Maybe on Glynn County, you have 600 employees, so it's spread out a little bit more, but sometimes that means you just have more of the same. Size doesn't always matter when it comes to health insurance because it really depends on the health of your group. And anymore, it's just, if you think about 5 years ago, it was unimaginable that any of your medications would be $1,000 a month, and the average is $1,000 a month. The cholesterol medication is $1,000 a month.
Do you have Mark Cuban's number?
I have it. I have all of his information that we give to your employees to help. Actually, when
If he
Vanessa,
just moved out of generics, we'd be great.
yeah. I don't think they're going to make. If they ever make a generic Mounjaro, we won't have to worry about it. They're
Won't have
going
to worry about
after
it ever
yeah.
again, that's right.
That is a very popular medication right now. And so we've also done some research on trends and just trying to try to get ahead of the market. But all of these prescription plans come at a little bit of a cost. There's still going to be a little pain point for those employees. They may have to wait, or they may not be able to pick it up at a pharmacy. They'll have to get it mailed to them. So and they're all foreign call centers. So sometimes there are going to be some challenges, but that's why we're here. That's why Teamwork Services is here to walk them through that process. So we'll be working on that and getting back with staff leadership. It won't have an impact on the plan, but it may have an impact on our claims when we're looking at it next year.
That's a good point. In my business, I'm being affected by steel tariffs right now.
Yes, sir.
And there's some proposed or discussed tariffs on pharmaceuticals.
Yes.
What is that going to do to this potentially?
Yeah, so the tariffs on pharmaceuticals are going to come from some of the raw materials to make those medications. It'll come from the how much it costs to have an employee to deliver those, for the hospital, all of their supplies, right down to the food cost of what it costs to bring the Jell-O to you if you're inpatient. And it's just something we'll have to wait and see. Right now, it's a moving target. As of yesterday, when I checked this right before I came to look at those numbers, we just have to wait and see if it all settles down. It looks like it'll work out. We know that there are supply houses with plenty of medication that it shouldn't immediately cost, but what happens to gas prices as soon as there's an issue? They just pop them up just in case, no matter how much gas they have in the pipeline that we can still use. So
It's a very fluid
yes.
situation, so
it really is, and it's so hard, Commissioner, because you can't really tell an employee, no, you shouldn't have this medication that's $25,000 a month, when the doctor's telling them it's the only thing that's going to help you. Now, what the doctors get from that, that's a whole nother discussion, not for TV. Yes, but there's certainly a system out there that is working for someone. But to combat that, and hopefully the executive order that may turn into a law one day will put us in a better position, because I mean, it is in fact bothersome that we pay so much as a country, but you know, that's just, we'll have to wait and see. But for our group of 101 people, we're going to find a way that we can manage those costs better and buy those costs at a lower premium, so we can have an impact. So next year we're having a cheerier conversation. Yes, sir. Anyone else? Okay. And so when we United Healthcare came back to us this year and said, we are not going to offer you stop loss coverage anymore. So you can either just go out and shop the whole thing, or you can shop just the stop loss. And remember, stop loss is just who's paying the claims. United Healthcare is what's on the ID card. United Healthcare, which is the largest insurer in the country, is what is, that's the network of providers, so you have the largest network. And they're going to remain administrator because their admin costs were fine. That wasn't an issue. We were in a guaranteed rate with that. But we did shop the stop loss out. And what we found in shopping that stop loss is we had 2 bids that were good. We had a lot of denials. It was scary. When I met with leadership, I said I didn't want to bring you a problem until I had a solution, and we had one. So we had 2 lowest bids were Symetra and Berkshire Hathaway. Berkshire Hathaway was almost 50% higher in the stop loss. So we love their branding and their burgundy color, but they won't be our choice. And Symetra is an A-rated company by AM Best, and they're a wonderful reinsurer, and they'll be able to slide right in, working with United Healthcare. We use that Symetra quote to go back and beat United Healthcare up a little bit. They came back and said, we will offer you stop loss after all, but at double the rate. And we said, thanks, but no thanks. And so we worked everything out with them, got a little relief in some areas, and everything from the employee experience will remain the same. Same ID cards, same doctors, same, when they call the insurance company, they're going to be calling United Healthcare. But when the claim is paid to the doctor, it will come from Symetra to United Healthcare, and it'll all be on the back end, so it won't have any impact to them. You also, a couple of years ago, added in a reimbursement of the deductible. So we have a $1,500 deductible, $3,500, and a $5,000 HSA high deductible health plan. And of the $1,500 and the $3,500 PPO plan or point of service plans with copays, you actually reimburse 75% of the deductible. So the actual deductibles for the employees, I apologize, I wish I was as gifted as Mr. Burrows, who could do this math in his.
I'm gonna let you do it just to see you
Yes,
sweat.
no, please don't test me. I told my office every number better be right to the decimal. I've never seen anything like it.
375 and 875.
He's amazing. And so your $1,500 deductible for employees is actually only $375. The $3,500 plan is $875. We have 101 employees. And so far, we've had 29 employees be reimbursed just year to date at about $53,360. And that just means that when the employee spends part of or all of that $1,500 or $3,500, they can submit those receipts to Teamwork Services, and they turn around a check right away for reimbursement. That was done by Commissioner Stevens a couple of years ago, who wanted to remove the deductibles as a barrier of access to care. We've been accessing care, guys, and the numbers are up, but the employees are being taken care of, but we are actually, seeing some higher claims from it, which we knew that we would.
On the $5,000, that has a health savings account?
It has a health savings account, and that is not funded, and the IRS will not allow you to put a health reimbursement in for that. But strangely enough, we still do have 28 employees who've chosen that. We have 16 employees on the 1,500 plan, 72 on the 3,500, which is really a sweet spot. That's the plan I would choose. And then 28 people on the high deductible health plan. And the concern was that the only employees that would choose the high deductible health plan would be the people that wanted the cheapest cost. But we found that the employees have learned how to use it and are actually fine with it. It's like the old-fashioned plan of you meet your deductible and the insurance pays. So it's kind of simple. Wellness is always covered. The discounts are passed through, so the employees still see that benefit. But for those people who say, I want to spend less on insurance and take that difference and put it in the bank and save it the way I want to save it, that's an option for them. And that's something that Commissioner Turnipseed wanted to see several years ago, and it's been popular. We started off with, I think, 4. So it's improved and become a little more.
When the renewal comes in August, then the employees can switch from what
They certainly may.
Right.
Yes,
So
sir.
They do have the option always. I
They
believe.
sure do.
Right.
And all that information will be given to them as well. And we find that people tend to stay right where they are. We see the same numbers, except we'll have just a few that'll move to that high deductible health plan. And in saying that, I think that Mr. Burrows mentioned.
I have another
Oh,
question.
yeah, okay.
On the stop loss, did United Healthcare did they offer an option on the individual stop loss, but not on the aggregate?
Correct.
Okay.
That's
and-
correct.
And is that across the board for them, or is that claims driven? Or?
No, that was claims driven specifically to this group only. And then they did come back and say that they would, but it was at double the premium, and it didn't make sense. And the reason you want to keep that stop loss aggregate is that's your group's deductible. It's $1 million policy for $40,000, $50,000, so you want that.
Good pivot you made on that.
Yes. Any other questions? So then lastly, in addition to improving the plan, adding life insurance, we also, and I'm sorry that I didn't mention this earlier, we also are adding the white composite filling to dental. You know, dental is something that's really overlooked quite a bit, but anyone who's been to the dentist lately, it is a new expense we have not seen. And so we're finding that those old antiquated plans are not working because everything at the dentist is expensive. And so what we found was a lot of dental plans only cover the silver fillings that do have about 50% mercury and some other scrap metal. And unfortunately, people do not want that in their children or in sometimes themselves. We expect that over the next 5 years, most insurance companies will move to where they get rid of that. But right now, it's a cost saver. We did add that back in, and it's $1 more. Mr. Burrows and Mrs. Roberts, in their calculations at looking at what they saved in the other lines, have absorbed some of that in their recommendation. And after not having an increase since 2020 in any of the medical, you all have not increased your employees' premiums since 2020. I don't know anyone else who has done that. But this year there'll be a small increase, and I think Mr. Burrows is going to go over that. Does anyone have any other questions?
The thing I was looking at originally from all these numbers is that I think that the first year we went to this, if we'd gone back if we had stayed with the traditional insurance, we probably would have been close to $2 million then. And so this morning when I got up, I said, let me use AI for whatever it's worth.
Yes.
And what's the increase, average increase in premiums in the last 5 years? It's 25%. So if we were at $2 million then, we'd be $2.5 million. And
yes.
maybe, and that's if we're on the good road. I mean, you don't know, because some years I know previous to this, we could have a huge increase. I mean, it might be a 5% one year, and it could be 20 the next. We just didn't know. So
yes.
This way we have some control, even though the costs are going up. I think everyone's costs are going up, but I think ours aren't an anomaly. I think it just is what it is.
Well, and to your point, the savings so far since 2020 has been $1.4 million. Most of that was the first couple of years, and it's dwindled as we've seen prescription prices go up. But we've also only been comparing fully insured rates at a 6% increase, to your wonderful point, because we wanted to be conservative and we didn't want it to look like we were trying to make kicking dirt on a number. But in fact, we don't see anyone who's just looking at a 6%. So we would have looked at, with some of our claims years, a much higher increase. And I think that savings is probably closer to $2 million already, and even being conservative. But we've only added in 6%, which is trend.
We know the insurance companies, what they're in business for.
Yes,
Profits.
sir.
We
Yes.
understand.
Yes. Yes. But here's the good news. Our fixed cost went down around $40,000 by moving to Symetra. So the real cost of what you will write a check for has gone down a bit. What is gone up is what they expect the claims to be, which is over $300,000. But that is not a real number. And when we went through each claimant and all the information that we had, which no staff member is, actually the staff has chosen not to have access to any of that. Staff has no access to any claims information. We went through everything in our office and with our team, and we see 2 large claimants that will not reoccur. So we think they're being a little, shooting a housefly with a shotgun on some of their claims, but we'll see. We expect that we'll have a better claims year than it looks like.
I've had a few questions over the years that I've been here from employees that don't quite understand the concept of the stop loss.
Yes.
Like, how are we going to pay if someone has a really big claim?
Yes.
And I don't know if everyone. I assume you go over that when you do the employee briefings.
Yes, we don't
Somewhat.
bring the employees into the mechanics of the plan.
Okay,
We just
yeah.
talk about what they'll see from their point of view. And so the stop loss from their perspective is, what is that max out of pocket that they'll have to meet? And that example's given every year of, if you had something major, your worst situation, worst case scenario, this is the amount that you would have to pay. And that's why that $3,500 is a bit of a sweet spot.
We're worried about their stop loss, and we're looking at our stop loss.
Yes, you're
okay.
on 2 stop signs.
Right.
Yeah, two different places
I
there.
mean, I had to explain it in depth, and this was one of the more senior employees that wasn't understanding health insurance, which is not unusual, I think.
Right, right.
But yeah, and I said to him, this is our limit of where our obligation ends at a certain dollar.
Correct.
And then even if you God forbid you end up with $200,000 hospital or medical bill, you know, we're not gonna end up paying, we're only gonna pay up the first 50,000 of it, or whatever.
150.
150, yeah. So.
That's right. So the employee's deductible's 150,000. If we told them that, we would probably have the worst meeting I've ever had in my career.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, coffee wouldn't do it that way.
Yeah, they want a 1,500, not 150,000. Yes, sir. Any other questions at all? Mr. Burrows?
All right. So I get to be the one that delivers the bad news on top of that. We're going to scroll back up here so I can have my numbers momentarily. But as Ms. Tyndall mentioned, there are savings with all the other line items other than dental and vision and healthcare and employee health. So our recommendation is to maintain the dental where it's at, even with the increase. There's a 19% increase, but the savings on the disability and life insurance coverages make that a net increase of only $1,673. So my recommendation is we as a commission absorb that. Vision insurance, since we don't pay anything towards vision insurance, the vision insurance costs go up by right at 10%, but vision insurance is exceedingly cheap and it goes up less than $1 per paycheck for everybody that takes that. Now, current employee deductions are around $335,000 to $350,000 a year. Based off the expected increase of $380,000, my recommendation is a 10% increase in biweekly deductions for employees on employee health insurance. Based off of our existing coverage selections, the average employee biweekly deduction would increase $14.45, or a total of $346.79 annually. Obviously, if you've got the $1,500 family coverage plan, that's you're going to feel that, but that obviously we can talk about the other options. Total funding with the expected increase in production of deductions and the funding in the group insurance line item in next year's budget puts us right around just over $2 million. We do still have the group insurance reserve of a balance of $997,000. So scroll down here to the deductions. $1,500 deductible, again 10%. Employee only, $10.31, and if you got the family, $38.12. The $3,500, which is the individual employee only $3,500 plan, is our most common plan. It goes up $7.10, and the family coverage goes up $28.50. The HSA goes up $385 and $16.79. Dental, again, I propose we absorb the increase in dental, and the employees stay the same. And then there's that giant 10% increase on vision per paycheck. So, again, we have not increased rates since 2020. I don't ever want to increase rates, but with the increased costs we're seeing, we need to unfortunately share some of this with the staff. And I do want to say that this was my recommendation, so if anybody gets frustrated about it, this came from me.
I also, it was AI morning for me. So
sure.
I said, you know, I wanted to find out what the percentage that employees paid for a company our size, you know, maybe about 115 to 125 employees. The average out there, employees pay, what AI says is 35% of the cost of the whole. And I know we're
around 20%.
Yeah, we're way below that. So, you know, I think we're moving very much on the right track. And, you know, even though it's hard to say, you know, you're going to have to pay a little bit more money, you know, the costs are up, and I think everybody knows that. I think everyone that walks, you know, goes to the grocery store and walks around and pays for gas that went up 30 cents a gallon in 2 days, you know, realizes that's what it is. So it is a little bit more, and I know everyone loves insurance and hates insurance at the same time, but
well, having dealt with the insurance costs I've had in the last year, let me tell you, an extra $28.50 a month is well worth it compared to what my outlay would have been.
Yeah, you only have to use it once to know how valuable it really is, and you know, it's something you have to have, so it's very important. And I'm just asking employees to please, you know, accept that we're going to have to go up a little bit on it, but we're still paying a substantial amount of money towards this, and they've got really, really excellent coverage. So.
Any questions about funding or deductions, or any further questions about the specifics for Ms. Tyndall? Because I am not going to be able to answer those for you.
I just want to say that you've done an excellent job in presenting the information and finding the best thing for us, particularly with the stop loss coverage. I really appreciate And I know you had a few moments of panic there.
Oh,
and-
yes, I did.
Yeah,
Yes, I did.
definitely, but it, certainly is
Yeah.
a wonderful solution.
If this is approved this afternoon at the full commission meeting, currently the open enrollment meetings are scheduled for the week following the 4th of July. So that will give us time to have new cards and coverages up to date by August 1st for the renewal year.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I move that the Facilities and Finance Committees recommend renewing the employee insurance coverages to be effective August 1, 2025 as presented.
I second.
All in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. This is Facilities Committee meeting, so.
No, what's it?
It's all, we're doing both of them, so,
Says both.
Says both on the
No.
motion, so.
So-
Oh, so we're all voting?
we're all voting.
Voting for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can vote no, that's your prerogative, sir.
I thought earlier we
Motion carries.
Yeah.
Over more insurance if you would like.
No. Good.
I've never had a taker. It's
Uh,
okay. No one's ever said yes.
It's always a pleasant conversation. I
Yeah.
just don't know what you're talking about.
Motion includes the increase for the employees.
Includes the increase for the employees, that's correct.
Okay. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Ms. Tyndall and her team and Ms. Vanessa from Teamwork will be here this afternoon as well for the full commission if you bring up any more thoughts in the next few hours.
I used all my questions up, so we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is fiscal year 2026 rate resolution.
Yes, sir. Our rate resolution to fund the budget that was presented to you in March and approved at the April meeting. We have had our annual town hall meetings last week to present the budget to interested customers. And as indicated at that meeting and at multiple of these meetings, we are not increasing customer usage rates this year. There are a handful of changes which we'll go through on the rate resolution. You have a red line copy as well, but I'm going to just go through the clean copy because I can never actually read the red line copies. So one thing that obviously changes in the actual rate resolution is the date that it is valid. This would be go into effect July 1 at the beginning of the new fiscal year. Again, all of these monthly billing rates for water, sewer, base, and REU fees are remaining constant, including the sewer flat rate account. There will be a slight increase in the industrial user surcharges for BOD and TSS concentration above 200 milligrams per liter. That is based off of our policy is to do a 3-year rolling average cost, and so that is a calculated figure there. And that only impacts 3 or 4 industrial customers in the system. Let's see here. There we go. Hydrant meter rentals, when somebody's doing a construction project, they need to get a fire hydrant meter to use water on site, and before a meter can be set, we require a deposit for that hydrant meter because they tend to be off-site for quite some time, and occasionally they do get lost. And so the updated cost to replace those meters is $2,339, up from $2,200. That is simply what we pay to replace those meters, and so that's the deposit. As soon as you return the meter back, you get your money back. Most of these other changes are very similar. It's simply the cost. New water and sewer meter installs, those are increasing for the cost to install them because the cost of brass for meters has went up about 40%. So the labor charges are not going up for the installation of these meters. This is all the increase is associated with the cost of the actual materials that go in the meter box. So one thing you'll notice there, I believe, I may actually have to go to the red line number here because I don't remember those old numbers. I didn't sleep much last night, sorry. So they're going from $6.25 for a 5/8 inch to $7.65. The 1 inch went up from $6.95 to $9.65. The 1.5 went up about $800, and then the 3 inch or larger is going up, or 2 inch is going up about $600. And then you'll notice there's a separate irrigation charge, and irrigation meters, when you look at the 1.5 and 2 inch meters, seem a lot cheaper than the water operational installation for water and sewer. That is because the irrigation meter, you have to provide your own backflow. We don't install the backflow. We don't have to put the setter that includes the backflow in there, and that is about an $1,100 piece of equipment to put in the ground. A couple of other things here. Cleaned up some wording on how these need to be charged on our labor rates. It's per crew hour, not per individual hour out there. per hour on a portable generator instead of a flat charge if we have to use a generator. And then there's a few new pieces of equipment items that we never had a charge for. This would be a situation where somebody requests us to do work on private systems. If we have to bring a dump trailer or a dump truck or something like that, we have an hourly charge for that rate. And I believe that is it. Is it not, Ms. LaDonna? No, that is all of them. So,
I have a question.
yes. Oh, the other one, I'm sorry, I did miss one.
Go
That
ahead.
is the septage discharge. So when septage haulers bring septage to us, we've been charging 8 cents a gallon for that. The recommendation is go to 10 cents a gallon. There's also, compared to last year's, we eliminated a B under septage discharge that said there was a price for septage at Dunbar and Southport. We do not accept septage at Dunbar and Southport, so we don't need a price for that. So that's why that was eliminated.
We bumped it from 8 to 10 cents.
8 to 10 cents a gallon, that's correct. And then that's for people that have septic tanks. They get those pumped down and bring that to us.
I do have one question, just out of curiosity. What meter size is Bucky's?
Lucky's got a 4-inch domestic, right? Totter's at 6. It's either a 4 or a 6.
Okay. Yeah, I can tell you. I'm just looking at how much their fees are.
Yeah. They will be opening July 1st. From joint water and sewer perspective, we're signed off. So if they don't open July 1st, it's not us.
It's not us. Okay.
Can I have a motion?
I'll move the joint facilities and finance committee recommend the Brunswick-Glynn Joint Water Sewer Commission approve the attached rate resolution for the fiscal year beginning June 30th,
Ending.
ending June 30th, 2026.
Motion is second. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, Andrew.
So thank y'all.
Next item is a CDL policy revision. Mr. Burris?
Yes, sir. This impacts 2 policies in our HR SOP, sections 5.6 and 6.2. Deal with educational assistance and the employee pay plan, respectively. Currently, if an employee goes and requires a Class A or Class B commercial driver's license, they get a one-time stipend of $200 and $175, respectively, as outlined in Section 5.6. If somebody goes and gets a wastewater operator license or a water operator license, they get, according to Section 6.2, a 5% increase for getting that license. CDLs are required for many of the vehicles we drive, particularly dump trucks, the VATCONs, sludge hauling trucks, and crew trucks that have significant weight on the trailer. If the weight exceeds 26,000 pounds, you have to have a CDL. And if you are remotely involved with construction, there is a huge lack of available CDL drivers in the marketplace today. So this is a heavy impact on our water distribution and wastewater divisions. And so the proposed policy change I'm bringing you today is to actually get rid of that one-time stipend and make the CDL one of the 5% eligible certificates that they can get. Obviously, there's requirements for maintaining the CDL. You know, certain traffic violations, if you get it with your standard driver's license, you get a point. You get it with a CDL and you lose your license automatically. So there's real-time impacts all throughout. But given the difficulties of hiring current CDL drivers and also, honestly, retaining existing CDL drivers, we have 21 active employees with CDLs, according to records from Teamwork Services. I suspect we might have a couple more that don't want to tell us they have a CDL because they don't want to drive the truck. However, to get a new CDL, you currently, according to updated rules by the state, you have to go through 8 weeks of training in order to get a CDL. There are multiple pathways to doing that, and we are working with 2 separate training providers. One of them is Coastal Pines, and one of them is a private company, to shorten that down, where they will have to go through 4 weeks of online training, and then we can do the other 4 weeks of in-the-field training here at our company utilizing our vehicles. Because otherwise, you have to go to Coastal Pines or a provider and sit in class for 8 weeks, which is very difficult for us to cut an employee loose for 8 weeks to go sit in class. But again, we've got 21 active employees. My recommendation is if we approve this effective July 1, we not only approve the 5% increase for new CDLs, we retroactively give 5% for all of our existing CDL drivers. Those 21 employees would see a total increase of wages by $61,221.97 or $1.40 per hour on average. So there's a couple other things on these red lines here. You'll notice the section I'm striking is the CDL incentive and also the GED incentive. We have not hired an employee with a GED that hasn't had a GED or a high school diploma since I've been here. So that one is not being utilized, so we'll just go ahead and strike that off the list. And then, of course, the other numbers change. And then down here at the bottom, on the actual 5% list, we'll be adding commercial driver's license Class A and B. There are Class C CDLs that we have a few employees that have, and that is to drive standard passenger vehicles with hazardous materials, and they'll still get a stipend for that, the reimbursement for getting that, but that's not an 8-week process to get. That's a go take a test thing. And we'll be eliminating the underground storage tank operator license because we no longer have any more underground storage tank license. As of 2 weeks ago, we removed the last underground fuel storage tank that we were responsible for, and that was at the airport well on St. Simons, and so we removed the one at Mallory and at airport, so we have no need for those licenses anymore. So kudos to Mr. Bankston, who will be recognized this afternoon for getting that checked off the list right before he got out of here. So, so there is a flow chart down here at the bottom if you have interest in who requires a CDL. Most of our employees can have a Class B CDL or what is known as a Class A NTT. That is where you can have not tractor trailers, not fifth wheel eligible, but you can use a pintle hitch to pull some of our larger trailers with equipment on them. And with that, I will certainly answer any questions you may have about the proposed changes.
Questions?
On the retro pay, are you talking, when you say retro, you mean from this point forward?
From this point forward, they'll get a 5%. So July 1st, whatever their current salary is, if it's $10 an hour, they'll get 5% on top of that. We're not going to go back and pay for 20 years just going forward, but they'll get the 5%.
61,000
Six-
going in or next?
That's annually, next fiscal year, right? That's correct. Not
So
retro.
this is CDL related to their position.
Yes and no. If somebody gets a CDL, the reason I say this, not all positions require CDLs, but if somebody gets a CDL and gives us increased flexibility during storm events to haul things around, we would also, when they got that license, get the additional 5% at that point, because that is when we really have issues is during storm events, the amount of equipment we have to move around, getting people with CDLs in that period is difficult.
Well, it's also a great tool for retention.
It's a great tool for retention. We had to have a conversation with one contractor, not any contractor that has been brought in here, that was actively recruiting our CDL drivers at the wastewater plant site, trying to hire them away. Because it is very challenging to hire CDL drivers right now.
So whether they need to drive it or not, if they get the license.
If they get the license and they get the 5%, you can be required to drive it upon request. If you refuse to do that, then I'll take the 5% back from you.
Fair enough.
Have a motion?
I move that the Facilities and Finance Committee recommend approving the amendment of the JWSC Human Resources SOP, sections 5.6 and 6.2 as shown in the attached.
Second.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, Andrew. Next item is Academy Creek Grit Classifier Auger Replacement.
Now, this is the most exciting item we have for the day. So the way a grit removal system works, there is an auger that comes out of a cyclone and it augers up grit, and as it augers up, water will fall out the bottom and the dry is relative grit comes out the top. It separates larger particles from the grit that is collected and allows for that to be dewatered. The current existing auger at Academy Creek is significantly worn to the point that you think of an auger or a screw, they have fins on them. There's about a third of the fin remaining. So as it starts spinning, it's not toting a lot of grit out because there's not a lot of surface area for it to tote the grit out. So we contacted K Machine, who has done an extensive amount of work for us doing fabrication and things in the recent couple of years, to machine a new auger for installation because the lead time to get a new auger from the manufacturer was excessive. So we got the drawings, they're going to machine it for us, and the cost to machine it from carbon steel and install it on site is $23,030. However, they will machine it and install it out of stainless for $25,900, for $2,870 to get a stainless steel auger compared to a carbon steel, giving the abrasive environment that's in. That seems like a good investment for us. So the recommendation is this can be completed prior to the end of the fiscal year. Like I said, much shorter lead time, so this can be installed within the next 2 weeks. And the recommendation is to award a contract to K Machine Industrial Services for the installation of a new stainless steel auger for the grit classifier at Academy Creek in the amount of $25,900.
I'm totally amazed we can get anything done for that price anymore,
That's
no
what-
matter what it is.
That's
you
what
know.
he brought it to me, and I'm like, well, he told me he was getting a quote, and I'm like, he sent it to me, and I'm like, yeah, we need to do that.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chairman, I move that the Facilities and Finance Committees recommend approving the construction and installation of a new stainless steel auger for the grit classifier at the Academy Creek wastewater treatment by K Machine Industrial Services LLC in the amount of $25,900.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions?
If anybody wants to see this thing in action, it is great fun to watch it drop grit out of the top, so.
All in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Next item is the pump station 4021 pumps purchase, Mr. Burr.
Yes, sir. Pump Station 4021 is the pump station on the side of Altama Avenue, right there across from College Park in front of the old Sonic. This receives flow from a great deal of the commercial area around Golden Isles Parkway, including Old Cypress Mills, Scranton Connector, and the residential areas all the way out to Fletsey. End up coming through the station. We did rehab the station in 2021, and as part of that rehab, we installed new Grundfos pumps as part of the project. However, we have ran into recurring motor and sensor issues. The bulk of the issues we've ran into are electronics related, not necessarily with the function of the motor, but some of the seal temp monitors and things like that, thermals and things like that have started to go out. And we've pulled these out. This is the, this will be the fourth repair, the reason we're requesting to buy new pumps, fourth repair in the past 4 years to these pumps. And it has taken significant amounts of time to repair the pumps when we've gotten them out. We have been renting bypass equipment while those are out, and to date, we have spent almost $100,000 on bypass pumps to sit there in case anything happened. And as we need another repair on the Grundfos pump, and we have existing rented equipment, that number is going to go up. This one is on the pump end with the seal and the impeller, not on the motor. But given the recurring issues we've had with that, we went out for pricing after we got a quote to repair the pump at $24,945. We went out for pricing for new pumps with the lowest combination of both cost and lead time coming from Hydro Service with a pump manufactured by Sulzer. We have some Sulzers out in the system on some of our smaller pumps. There are utilities in our region that have standardized on Sulzer in recent years. Beaufort Jasper, for example, up in Hilton Head, has used an extensive amount of Sulzers in recent years. And so the request is actually to purchase 2 of these new pumps because the cost isn't excessive, and we can go ahead and get the unreliable Grundfos pumps out of the system. And so the total cost for 2 pumps is $62,331. Obviously, with an 8-week lead time, this will come out of next year's operations budget.
So we're gonna eliminate Grundfos across the board, and we're
We've got one other station that's got Grundfos in it, and if the next time those tear up, yes, we will be bringing a recommendation to purchase some new pumps there.
Have a motion?
I'll move the Facilities and Finance Committees recommend purchasing 2 new Sulzer pumps for Pump Station 4021 from Hydro Service Inc. in the amount of $62,331.
Second.
Any questions?
I would like to point out Hydro Service, if you're not familiar with that name, we have rented bypass pumps from them for some of our internal projects, and they were also the people that brought us 50 generators and bypass pumps in 24 hours during the storm. So they have been a key partner for us in recent years.
Todd, tell us how far this pump station pumps.
16 feet, I believe, 18 feet, 16 feet.
Yeah, it's less than 50 feet, a little jumper station.
Yeah.
Could we put a screw pump in there?
Know that it would fit in the wet well. You potentially could.
You could, it's right on the edge of the right of way, Altama right of way, so you'd have to do something
It'd be
involved.
everything.
You have to get pretty creative, but sure be a way to do it.
That station, by the way, pumps 4,000 gallons a minute, so there is a lot of water that comes through that station. Now, it's not 24/7, 4,000 gallons a minute, so, but 4,000 gallons a minute are what these pumps do.
Now, you guys do any analysis on some of these pumps, you know, whether or not they're gonna last? So maybe the Fliggett is a little bit better and might last longer, because, you know,
We keep repair records on all of our pumps. Obviously with Sulzer, we've got a handful of them in the system. Most of them are smaller. Larger pumps, these are 30s. Larger pumps, 50s, 80s, and higher, we pretty much standardize on flight pumps for that, because at that point, the reliability is worth the cost. But we've had good luck with the soldiers we've had in the system thus far, and we do keep track of that. Again, that there's a reason we're moving away from the Grundfos, because we haven't had good reliability. We're also moving away from some other manufacturers we've tried. We tried some pumps. We got some of those out there, but we're not quoting those anymore. So we do keep records on where we're having failures and the manufacturers, and certainly any recurring failures that we have.
You don't have a saucer this big.
Biggest Soldier, I believe, is a 10. This is a 30. We don't have one this big, no, sir.
What was the repairs to the pumps?
Most of them, like I said, were electronics on the motor. We had to replace some seal monitoring and thermal monitoring equipment. They had multiple nicks coming back from the factory in the cable going down to the pump. And if you got a nick in the cable and it goes in water, the motor does not like that. So a lot of those type things, just minor stuff, but while the expense for the repairs has not been excessive, the length of time to get them back has drawn significant cost from having to have bypass equipment there.
Problem's not with the pump, it's stuff above the pump.
Well, it's in the motor end and everything like that, yes, sir. The physical wet end of it, I mean, they're all wet because it's commercial, but what we would call the wet end of the pump, we haven't had a lot of issues out of it yet. It's been in the motors and the electronics, which unfortunately is what we're seeing across the board with most of our equipment. We have significantly more failures on the electronics and things like that than we do on the physical equipment we're using.
These VFDs?
Yes.
Any other questions? Not all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Next item is infrastructure dedications report.
All right, Commissioners, good afternoon. I will move swiftly through this agenda item here. There are 5 dedications to speak about. Most of these, or all of these, are driven by private development, some residential and some commercial. First one is Virginia Drive Force Main. That's in the area of St. Simon's German Village. And that is cleaning up a little bit of private infrastructure that was installed several years ago. The developer is now getting around to dedicating that to us. That'll now turn public. Another little piece, several little
What size is that force main?
that's a 2-inch force main.
Is that from grinder pumps?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No easy access to gravity sewer in that area of St. Simon's. Also branching off there are 3 other little branches of force main off of Franklin, Horton, and Van Velzen. The private development entity that installed those is now wishing to dedicate those lines to us as well.
How old are these lines?
A couple years.
It's no more than 2 years old. LTCT, number 3, LTCT Investments is a car wash just a little south of the Wawa on New Jessup Highway and Community Road. And that car wash is in business now and dedicating the water line. We formerly did not have a water line extension down the east side of New Jessup Highway or 341. Wawa installed a branch of water main, and now down LCTC they did the same and extended it down LTCT. So this is a water main and accompanying easement for that. They have a grinder station that tied into the force main that was extended as part of the Wawa project. Item number 4.
Would there be a dedication of that at some point, separate to this?
Commissioner, that one has been dedicated already, so that's
Okay.
already public
Wawa
infrastructure.
dedicated that as
Yeah.
part of theirs.
Okay.
Yeah, for Wawa to come online, that had to already be dedicated all the way to the point of connection to the public system. So,
Just at one of those stragglers.
Sure.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, so great question. LTCT just simply connected right into that. So
Okay.
there's no component of infrastructure on the sewer side for us there, wastewater side. Okay, all right, Buc-ee's. Bucky's is due to open up July 1st, grand opening, and their construction as far as water and sewer and Joint Water Sewer Commission dedicated items is complete, and that's why we're seeing it here. It's a extension of the gravity sewer system. They are connected into gravity, and then also an extension of a little bit of water on there as well, about 2,800 linear feet of 12-inch PVC water main. And that extension will likely be utilized, possibly. It'll be extended by the development across the road to the north, and eventually we hope looped into other points of connection to the public system.
So the extension does not go up to Highway 99, does it?
Currently, no, Commissioner, no, sir. And if any of these you'd like more detail, I can definitely pull these up on GIS map and we can zoom in and
We
look
can
at
do
them.
that.
Would you like to see this one?
Yes.
Okay. So this is up in the area of exit 42 in the northernmost reaches of our system. All right. So
Ties into a manhole on the south.
it does. So this gravity sewer system is a 12-inch PVC gravity sewer main system. Was installed in the early aughts, and they do tie into it here off of our easement that runs through the woods on it's called native land, but it's actually an easement, not a sewer easement. They do the extension up this way, up what's called Bucky's Boulevard, which connects back into State Route 99. They do have several new traffic circles. They're almost complete, or if not complete already.
Almost.
Almost. So, good extension of the gravity system here. Surely it'll receive gravity from across the street potentially one day.
So it'll have to be it's sized for service on the other side too.
It is.
Is that 8 or 12?
That is
8 inch, okay.
8 inch. I believe it is 8 inch.
Yeah. Yeah, it says.
Yep,
Station
8 inch
just below
PVC,
that?
2,600 feet.
Sorry?
Ties into the pump station down there.
It ties in behind it, and the pump station is up actually on the 99, right at the butt up against 99. But yes, it's very near a pump station. So you see the pump station at the top right of the screen.
So 4118, so everything will drain here, drain to the station. And then currently, force main's all the way back down Shell Road, back down here to Church Boulevard.
So where's Bucky's property line?
Bucky's is here.
Okay. And the car wash is in the front.
Or car wash.
No, it's the other car wash is over by Wawa. You mean the one we were just talking about?
I mean, I thought this Bucky's was gonna have a car wash.
So did I.
Let's see if I don't think the ortho's going to show anything. Nah, it's still woods. Yeah, yeah, their car wash on sign up there. It's
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Pretty sure there's a car wash out there. I do like they got the new roundabout sketched in.
Yeah, it didn't take long to get that update, did it?
Yeah.
Doug, do you have any idea how far it is from the lift station at the top of the screen there over to 99?
Over
Or that distance?
299.
Yeah,
Let's see. So from where to where?
lift station to 99.
To
No, 17, I'm sorry,
Oh,
going the other
17.
way,
Oh,
I'm
over
sorry.
here?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's only a couple thousand feet to 17,
it's
but
not
it's a long
far.
way before you get to any large.
User at that point?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Much up there.
Because
Yeah.
the state owns such a large piece of property up there. They own both sides of the road at Hawful Broadfield.
Yeah, it's
All right.
about 2,500 feet at this point right here from where we were taking down. So,
All right. Just curious. Thank you.
yes, sir.
Is the line deep enough at the end of Bucky's line there to tie on the other side?
Commissioners, it certainly could be extended.
Line fairly deep there.
It is. Record drawings are also attached. They're a little bit tough.
We can extend it as far as it'll go, sir.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough to read these guys here.
The other question is, when it leaves their property, it's going across somebody else's property, right? It's going down to tie to the existing line.
Yes.
Right, right. So from,
Yes, wasn't that easement the one that EDA helped us?
that
Take
was
care.
just for the, that was a small little easement. Yeah, it didn't,
Easement from where the property line stops to where it ties in.
from here
Right.
through here. Yes, okay, I'm sorry, yes. Yeah, this section here, off there.
Yeah.
We do have that easement.
Yes, sir.
That is the one that, yeah, Development Authority.
We worked with Ryan Moore at Economic Development Authority. He helped us get that easement taken care of. So working together with our local partners. And one more.
Yes, one more here. All right. Back up to our memo. Okay, Cortelyou Lakes, St. Simons Island. Little residential development there, 236 linear feet of water line and about 120 linear feet of, call it gravity or sanitary sewer, but force main. Not technically sewer, but force main. And that's on the northern side of St. Simons Island, up in Lawrence Road area there. Little residential development, but they were within reach of water and wastewater connections. So that's why they connected in.
That's a pressure line.
Correct. Yes, sir.
That's the only way it can be served.
Correct. No easy, readily available gravity sewer in that area. Those are the 5 items, and if there's any other questions, happy to answer.
Have a motion?
I move that the Brunswick-Glynn Joint Water and Sewer Commission approve the user request to accept the infrastructure and easement and associated documentation. I'll second.
I'll vote on it.
Second. All in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
So we go to discussion section now. Financial statements, month end May 31st. Ms. Wilson?
No, sir.
No.
Mr. Owens was fortunate enough to have some personal time off, and he had delegated that task to Ms. Wilson, but unfortunately, she is under the weather today. So I am pinch hitting for her. Cover a couple of these with you very quickly. Starting on our balance sheet, looking at the asset section, restricted cash did see receipts to the SPLOST account for $329,000. That was a little bit higher than normal, but seeing as how this reporting period was within spring break time, it's logical that that's where that increase came from. So that brings restricted cash accounts to a balance of $356,433 for May. You also noticed in our capital assets section that there was an increase in the construction in progress during the month of May. Total amount was $2,482,014. The projects that contributed to that increase the most were the Academy Creek RAS replacements and UV installations for $648,000. Brunswick Villa sewer expansion of $868,000. The Canal Road water production facility for $285,000. The Howard Coffin Well project at $227,000. And the continuing CIPP in the basin 4002 nearby here for $222,000. Nothing necessarily remarkable in the liabilities section, but I will note that there was no significant change seen in long-term debt, other liabilities, or the net pension liabilities. So total liabilities as of May 31st were $78,870,097. Moving on to the summary revenue, page 3. Other income did see a considerable increase of over $1.4 million due largely to an ARPA grant reimbursement that we received.
That's for the UV system.
And let's see, operating expenses for May were in our normal range at about $2.5 million, bringing total operating expenses to $28,780,000 year to date, which is $4.5 million over budget. So certainly some good news there. Just a reminder, we did use last year's budget surplus to pay down debt and our net pension liability. So we're actually doing much better than the red numbers there say that we are. So please remember to take that into consideration. Continuing on to expenses by division on page 4. Again, nothing considerably remarkable here. Wastewater continues to be our largest division due to the higher costs largely associated with the debt and pension paydowns that we mentioned, as well as chemical and maintenance related costs. Cash balances, decrease in the revenue deposit account and the receipts to the SPLOST account were the notable changes. Continue to forward. Stop me if there are questions, but I'll continue if not.
What will the chemical cost increase?
Oxygen. Then we're using less oxygen, but in the last 2.5 years, they went up on oxygen 150% on the per pound cost.
Continuing to be optimistic that our UV installation will help us continue to decrease those costs. Looking at our investments, investment portfolio is currently yielding just shy of 4.2%, so looking good there in comparison. With a quick look at the project report, significant change to this report is the addition of $4.9 million. You may remember back in April that the commission approved the fixed generator installation contract. So that was for the FEMA mitigation project, so you see the increase there. I'll be happy to take any questions. All right, seeing none. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Next item is the water production report, Mr. Burris. Complicated.
My apologies, I got 2 wastewater reports. That is the float report. Let's see. There we go. All right, we're in business. Okay, for the month, as you would expect, as more people are in town from tourism, obviously we have more water use. However, it was a much wetter month than it had been the previous month, so there was not quite as much of an increase as you may expect. 266 million gallons produced for the month of May with a 10% unaccounted for number. Those numbers should be pretty accurate because the well meters were just calibrated the last quarter. Daily average 8.6 million produced with a 7.7 metered. 98% of our readings came from the new AMI system. On the mainland, mentioned Howard Kaufman well project. The well has been rehabbed as we discussed with the project several months ago. They put the new casing in. We're waiting on fencing to be replaced because according to EPD standards, you cannot operate a well that's not secure. So when the fencing gets replaced, we'll turn that well back on. Expected that to occur before the end of the month. As a result of Howard Kaufman being offline, you see Goodyear continues to take the bulk of that flow. As a result, 53 million gallons produced at Goodyear for the month. Goodyear is the area is a well site very near the hospital that if you don't know where it's at, you'll probably drive right past it. The rest of them, I-95 over in the Glendale area is our next largest water producer on the mainland at 32 million gallons. 5.25 million gallons for the month on the mainland, with slightly higher than where the equivalent last year if you look at the graph. The number of complaints we got, there were 6 on the mainland, with the bulk of those being, not unexpectedly with the increase in flow, dirty water complaints from the increased flow rates actually flushing the lines out. On St. Simon's Island for the month, 2.9. This is where I would We typically have more outdoor water uses on the mainland, on the island than the mainland, and you'll notice if you look at the far right, we actually use less water in the month of May than we did the month of April, which is unlikely to be because there was less people in town for the month of May than the month of April. There was just less irrigation going on because we got a lot more rain for the month. But right at 3 million gallons a day on St. Simon's Island, that system. More water coming from the south end, obviously, with the densities down there, but fairly well balanced with 3 of them in that 18 to 19 million gallon per day, per month range. Pretty close to where we were this time last year. You see the big jump up in the month of April due to the dry conditions, and then back down to where we'd expect it to be around this time of year once it started raining again. And Southport, 2 wells. The third well, X29, is under construction. So that will not have flow even the 5,000 gallons a month that we run it now in the foreseeable future until that is online. But Mr. Klein can cover that in the project report. Right at 400,000 gallons for the month at exit 29. That system is fairly consistent with the amount of flow we see month to month. Not a lot of fluctuation. Most of that, of course, being residential customers down at exit 29. Any questions on the water production report?
We keep, look at the accounted for on each of the 3 systems too.
We do. I don't have those numbers with me, but we do keep track of that. Yes, sir.
Start looking at that too.
Okay. Take a look at that, sure.
The new meters are really, you feel comfortable with the unaccounted water percentage, the data there, right?
I would say, I mean, if you scroll back up to the top there, that 7.94 number previously, if it's under 10, I would think that's probably a little suspect, not because of the new meters, but that's probably with the well meters being inaccurate. But yes, if, you know, other than the exceedingly low numbers like that, I'd say that's in the ballpark. 10 to 15% is where I'd expect most of our systems to be, except for exit 29 being a much newer system. Anything else on water production? Wastewater report. All right. Academy Creek, again, we got a lot more rain this month. 6 inches of rain for the month, where the previous 3 months combined we got 6 inches of rain. So quite a bit wetter, and of that 6 inches, I think 5 of it was over about a 5-day window in the middle of May. So 7.5 MGD leaving the Academy Creek facility. As you will notice on these influent concentration numbers, when the rain goes up, those numbers decrease because we have a lot more I&I getting in the system. Still having issues with the ammonia, but you can see it trending downward. That number has continued to trend downward for the first 2 weeks of June. We do have the new RAS pumps online on 2 of our 6 clarifiers, and the 3rd clarifier's RAS pumps are being installed currently. So current startup on the 3rd clarifier is scheduled for July 1st. But about 5 million gallons of water use at Academy. Most of that water use is actually used for belt press operations. And then sludge, we continue to run a significant amount of sludge, which is paying dividends, paying large invoices, but we're paying dividends at the plant having availability of sludge, holding capacity at 156 ton, that's dry tons, that is not wet tons for the month. So multiply that by about 6 to see the actual tons of wet solids that went out the door, because you're looking at 16 to 18% solids, so that's dry tonnage to make it a easy comparison depending on how it fluctuates on the actual percentages.
And all the sludge is coming from all 3 plants.
Dryer's not running right now, so it's not doing that. Trying to get a rehab. We approved a contract to rehab. They're scheduling to get that work taken care of. You can see on our flow rate, obviously the gray bar being this year's rainfall total. The jump up in rainfall follows the trend at the plant, so not unexpected. Numbers are in a similar range month to date for the month of June. St. Simon's for the month, 3.4 million gallons a day. Have some, again, ongoing I&I issues we're trying to figure out. But 97.5% renewable. That is not a typo, by the way, because I checked this number. I thought I had copied the wrong thing. The BOD and TSS removal was the exact same number. So that is not a typo. 97.58% removal at both of those pollutants. You can see at Dunbar significantly less. You're talking about an eighth of the amount of sludge being hauled out of Dunbar as there is hauled out of Academy. Again, a lot of that's trying to play catch up on the solids inventory that we had. But almost exactly what the flow was in the month of May last year. So rainfall certainly picked up, and we've got staff running reports on where in the system we need to prioritize I&I investigation. 2 likely suspects are the West Point Plantation area and the area along Frederica over in the Oglethorpe Park area. That's where we seem to be needing to do additional inspections. Southport for the month, 621,000 gallons a day. We've got an issue where not all of the influent flow is being read by that meter because there's a bypass that goes to the grit system that does not go through the actual influent meter. We got to get that corrected for those numbers to get back closer to where they need to be. So the effluent number is a good number though, 621,000 gallons. 98% removal of BOD and 99% removal of TSS for the month. Very little sludge coming out of that facility. Obviously, new facility, don't get a lot of grit and sand in that facility, so it's just the organic materials that breaks it down well. Had a lot of holding time, so a little higher than we were this time last year. But if you've driven in the exit 29 area in recent months, you'll know there's a lot of growth going out there, so that's to be expected. Any questions on the wastewater report?
Can we just take Pinova off of the Academy Creek one now?
Yes, sir. I can do that. That's not a problem.
Good report.
Thank you, sir.
Finance Committee, this is a little visual inspection.
I want to compliment the photographer to get the pictures.
Thinking the same thing.
I wondered if anyone would notice that.
Yeah.
I figured a few of you would.
That's mallard ducks, huh?
Yeah.
Mallard ducks, is that what it is? Okay.
Now, I understand, Commissioner Neal, you went up.
No.
Oh.
No,
No.
they don't let elected
Yeah,
officials.
they don't let us. Bill Fallon went up.
Okay.
Oh man! But you got the shirt to, you know.
I got the shirt.
You got the shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went to
So,
the party, got the T-shirt.
commissioners, thank you. This is for those in the finance committee. This is what we typically do in the facilities committee: is do a quick run through. We call it the picture report, capital project report. It's the projects that are under construction. Some of these nearing completion, and they get to showcase some of that. But yeah, my compliments to photographer Mr. Bowe. He was there at the right time, right place, and he got some good shots of them doing their practice passes the day before the show. So this is first project, Canal Road Water Production Facility, 250,000 gallon ground storage tank. Everything, it's a good looking site out there, right adjacent to Glynn County's reroute and their traffic circle projects going on, which is looking good out there too with some blacktop down. This project right here, we're going to have a startup on June 23rd. With commissioning of it to connection to the system shortly thereafter, barring any issues right there.
I noticed the tank's almost full.
Yes, sir, absolutely. As commissioners, you pointed out last meeting, absolutely. This right here is the gauge. So it's very simple in how it works mechanically. It's just a cable, a pulley, and an indicator on a scale bar there. For sure, if it's down here, you see the little red indicator here, it means the tank is full. If you see it here, it's empty for some reason. So as you drive by,
like those Blue Angels, it works backwards.
works backwards, yeah. So yeah, the stick. So good shot there. The F-18 Super Hornets as they're practicing through there, and that's our not our Blue Angel there, the little outhouse, but. Another good shot there, low flying over, and you can see Glynn County's project in the background. I mentioned blacktop going down, looking really good out there. That's the new alignment of Harry Diggers Boulevard. So back to the indicator and view of our tank. That's short-lived because once the new roadway is complete, traffic will no longer on a routine basis be going along the existing alignment of Harry Diggers. That'll be a dead-end access road actually to be cut off. So take advantage of the scale there while it's visible. A little FAA light. Of course, it's very close to the airport runway and their approach and whatnot there. Very typical. Tank's not very high, but still we put our lighting on there. Good shot on the inside showing the clear water. Looks like a swimming pool. This is a shot inside of we call them high service pumps, but it's basically the pumps that take the water from the ground storage tank. It's ready to go out to the system. Chlorinated and whatnot, and this is what discharges and pressurizes our system to the system pressure, generally about 55 to 60 psi. You may notice one of the pumps. Typically, there's two in our configuration, or our typical configuration of a water production facility. contract having a little issues right here with the seal. So they do have their the pump casing taken apart right there, and they're working on it. That is back together now. Will be part of the startup test right here. You can see the motor provides the mechanical energy to the pump itself, and there's the coupling in between. I will bring my own nickel for the nickel test when they do the alignment startup, and I know, Chairman, you know what a nickel test is. For those that don't, you take a nickel and you set that sucker up on the edge of the pump, and if the vibration from the alignment is out of whack, that nickel will fall over. If it's aligned properly, it won't. So that's an old school test.
Total cost of this project?
Total cost.
5.1
Yeah.
million.
Yeah.
One nickel.
One
And
nickel.
one nickel. That's right. I'll throw in the nickel if they'll get done with it. Yeah, there we go. 5.4. Yeah.
Both of these pumps run all the time, or did they
No.
alternate?
Commissioner, great question. So we have two redundancy. They alternate. They'll alternate. Yeah. So they'll share the load. Both of them on BFDs, so they ramp up, ramp down as needed, rather than just on off, which is hard on a pump of this size or the motor of this size. And yep, two for redundancy primarily, but they'll share the load, switching back and forth. Okay, next project is one of the group of three pump stations, 4002, 4001, and 3101. This is 4002 near Mansfield Street, downtown Brunswick. Very good looking site there. Essentially, the station's been complete. Been waiting on electronic component, which is now there.
It's been installed, but hadn't been connected, I don't think.
Yeah, we should be seeing that final item on this station, and also I believe that's what's holding up 4001.
On bypass still?
No, it's running on electrics. With the what we're waiting on is the quick connect box for a generator. It had a long lead time on it. They've gotten here. We just got to get them wired. The electrician's got to get them wired in.
Bypass pump will be removed.
There's a permanent bypass pump at this station that will run in the event that there's a failure, but that's not running right now, no sir.
Bypass pump sitting right here. This is the component that we're waiting on. A few last little electrical wiring. Okay, good shot of the inside there, and the electrical cabinets and whatnot inside the station. Air conditioned to keep those things cool, lasting longer. And fun little fact here, this little manhole right here sits right on top of the wet well component. The way these old stations were built, the building sits right on top of at least half of the wet well, the storage area where all the water accumulates before it's pumped out down the road.
This station serves almost all of south part of Brunswick.
Pretty much everything south of K Street on Brunswick.
South K Street, actually it even goes up to the courthouse.
Yeah.
I mean, it even goes north of Gloucester up to the courthouse, so it's a very large area. Matter of fact, this area is being lined right now, the gravity system. So, okay, pump station 4044. That station is essentially complete. Final little items on there. If you drive by, you may not even notice it, except for the good-looking fence that's out there now. And
The street.
right in the street. That's the last biggie.
Last piece, right?
That is the last biggie remaining item here. Commissioner, what you're referencing is the road cut right here. Again, another little jumper station. The force main was only that long. So that road cut is coordinated with the contractor. Mr. Burrows has determined that's going to happen at night. And we understand that the contractors try to utilize the same paving contractors working on Brunswick Village right now, down on Townsend. I think they're negotiating with them to get that work done. So that will be happening soon. Okay, Dunbar Creek, good overview shot of
Yeah,
there.
Dunbar Creek, we're still waiting on the chemical feed equipment. They've done some middle reviews, just waiting on that stuff to show up to get it installed. We did have some work done on the influent channel coming in between the bar screen and the grit system because we had a collapsed line, but our contractor was already on site. He jumped on that. And so while we were doing that, we went ahead, while we had it on bypass, and coated the entire influent structure with a protective epoxy to eliminate any future deterioration of the concrete. But Most of the work's completed at this point. Like I said, just waiting on a couple of items to show up so it can be installed.
You want to tell them where the auger is on that bottom drawing?
Todd, you want to show them the auger right there?
Yeah, so.
Grit system's a circle.
Yeah, well.
Yep. There's the auger, yeah.
That's all the good stuff, and as you said, it dumps it out to the hopper, gets hauled off. Semi-dry,
Semi-dry.
Archimedes screw. Yeah, they used Raven, I think, didn't they?
Yeah, they
Inside
use Raven,
the structure there. Oh, you may know what this is? That's your flume there, right?
It's the influent partial flume where we read the flow coming into the plant.
Partial flume.
There you see the blue coating that went in.
Here's your epoxy. Yeah, Raven liner is the brand they use in here. Typically it's that Smurf coating. It should help that concrete last.
That's where the new tanks are going to go when they show up.
Go. Ready and waiting. Nice asphalt out there, looking good. Okay, we talked about 4001. That is the one of the group of 3 pump stations there. New control panels, etc. New shed. Site's looking good. These 3 pump stations were primarily electrical, as designated as the worst or the most urgent needs in the master plan, and that's why that project was refined to electrical. Certainly other things could have been done, but it was refined for costs down to electrical. All right, how?
Do you have any before and after pictures of this?
We'll have them, yes.
Yeah, we can do that.
It's
Yeah,
going to be really interesting because
Yeah,
it's really, it's dramatic, I would
That's-
say.
that's it. So the one for the before and after is this next project.
Yeah.
Affectionately called the chicken coop. We may still call this one the chicken coop.
Yeah.
This is off of Highway 17. You can see the widening project the DOT is working on diligently out there in the 17 right away. And this is
Diligently?
Yeah, I would,
Diligent. Yes, sir.
diligently would be what I would use.
I think,
Good choice of words, Todd.
So-
Good choice of
yes.
words.
Yeah, I think eventually. was-
Eventually.
yeah,
So a lot of people standing around.
there's there's stuff going on out there. But this is our site. It's been a long accomplishment to get to where we're at with this one. This is the regional pump station that will serve this area, and actually provides expansion opportunities up and down this area of Highway 17, kind of close to the Glencoe connection to Highway 17 down there, just right there east of the airport, south of the airport. So
They're getting ready to put the fence in there?
Yes.
yes, yeah.
Is a fence where our approximate property line
Yes,
is?
sir.
Right. A little bit cleanup and grading there to be finished up, but it's looking good. If you drive out that way, it looks much different.
And the new station is running.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
is running?
Yeah, it's
Or
online.
it's cleaned out the 4-inch force main?
It should have cleaned out the 4-inch force main.
Yeah. So good improvement out there. That last picture is a good one of the overall, and how it interfaces with the new 17 right away, or paving lanes and whatnot out there. This is a little bit different. That's another shot of the station itself. The arrangement of the concrete. We always try to think of the operators that are going to use this station and think of the worst case scenario. They're in the middle of a hurricane at 2 o'clock in the morning and standing on concrete that's graded properly, and keeping them out of the weather when they're working on those control panels. I think this would be a good site for them to work at during those.
They send me out there for startups because I'm the clumsy guy that finds where all the holes are at. So we had to fill in a little extra concrete when I found a couple of them out there.
Now, in a station like this, there's a place for a generator, right, to connect somewhere there?
Yes.
Yes. All of our new builds have the quick connect station panels on them. It's a very unimpressive box. You just put 3 cam lock connections in there, twist, turn the generator on, you're good to go. Takes longer to drive to the station than it does to hook up the generator. You know, ideally keep the colors the same.
Square peg
Or
round
if you
hole.
leave the ground out, it tells you on the generator that the earth is leaking. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Good looking station there, wrapping that up. This next one is pump station 3101 on the south end. And again, this station was condensed down to just electrical improvements for the most part. A little bit of site improvements there. The pumps are being replaced in-house. I believe operations is waiting to receive those pumps. So that station is currently on bypass, which we're facilitating the bypass with this project, again, to save cost. One thing to note here, you'll see this line kind of draping right across the side. Wasn't ever a good idea to have that, but what it does is it goes to, I think it's Comcast, I think it is. They're building over here, it's I don't know, some type of a telephone line security system. Anyway, working with Comcast to get that taken down and removed from our station. You can imagine the guys got there in the middle of the night again, wind blowing around. They got a VACCON, big snorkel, they got to get in there and get on top of the station, the wet well, and you don't want to get into that thing in the middle of the night. So never a good idea to have utilities draped across over the top of our stuff. So getting that out of the way. Another shot from the inside, looking at the back side of the panels, again with the nice aluminum shelter over the top of where the operators would be working on electrical components. Next project is Academy Creek, RAS and UV upgrades.
Yeah, you can see the bypass set up in that first picture. There are 5 existing bypass pumps on that mound right there. They're pulling out of a manhole. They're laying a new 48-inch line across the road there, so it's bypassing across that line. So that has been on bypass for 2 months at this point. But in the below picture, you see a good shot of the work going on in the UV system there. You see at the end of those channels, those metal weirs that are going in, that helps set the level in the actual UV system. And as you look forward, back further up the channel, you can see the slanted UV bulbs that go in there. So mechanical and electrical installation is ongoing there. And then the bulk of the work that's been happening for the last few months has been in the RAS building. So you see the contractor there pulling some fittings out of there. These old RAS buildings are bottom floors where all the pumps and the valves are at. They have typically one hole cut in them. It's very difficult to maneuver these assets in there. But like I said earlier, the RAS on station, the clarifiers 5 and 6 are running. You can see the pipe disconnected there when they were about to hook everything back up. So scroll on down, Todd. And that's what one of the new RAS pumps looks like. The green there, black is the motor, and that's the chopper style pump. That's the electrician from White Electric wiring the pump in. This did not come with a pigtail. They have to wire directly to the motor on VFDs, but we have seen with the pumps that are running, we actually have them throttled back because they will outrun the other clarifier RAS pumps so much that they deadhead. But even with what we've seen, somebody, Mr. Grantham, the maintenance supervisor, said when we turned number 5 on that the blanket only dropped 3/4 of a foot overnight. I said, well, David, I've been here 7 years. The blanket's never dropped with the RAS pumps running, so take your 3/4 of a foot. So they're starting to pay dividends for us. And then you get an overview of the whole site there. A lot of work going on down there at Academy Creek. And if you look at those digesters, you will see that the levels are not at the top if you pay attention to the walls. Tremendous accomplishment. And then we got some photos below that Mr. Vogue got of our School of Gar that is hanging out in the outfall.
Yes.
There is a manatee that comes back in there occasionally, and you do get a gator back in there occasionally. I have never seen the manatee. I've heard tales.
Yeah, yeah. Seen the calf out there, a little juvenile. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool ecosystem out there. Yeah. Okay, Brunswick Villa, just down the road from us, off of Altama and Townsend Street, et cetera, in those neighborhoods. And paving's ongoing out there.
Started laying asphalt yesterday.
Yeah.
Expected to finish Townsend and Habersham by Friday, and then start on the side streets. But getting Townsend and Habersham paved will open up traffic back through that area, and will take a lot of traffic off of those side streets while they're doing that work. Appreciate the customers' patience in that area as we try to wrap this project up, hopefully in the next 3 weeks.
When's the paving supposed to be
Weather
finished?
dependent. 3 weeks, weather dependent.
I do think patience is beginning to run thin.
I understand. Yes. Yes.
If you're out there and you driving through the neighborhood, you're likely to see a septic tank truck or two. So these folks getting tied on out there is very timely. it's good. We're excited. And you can see these services, the service posts and whatnot. And, they wouldn't have to tile it up here. They would go.
That's a giant clean out.
Are you sure?
That is a giant clean out.
Yeah.
That's one of those Gumby men Eric wants to put.
Yeah. Yeah. That's advertising for
Yeah.
us. Hey, we're here now. All right. Okay, SPLOST exit 29. This is our water production facility going in down there, and it actually tucked away in a little corner of the treatment plant property out there within the fence. Pre-existing well that's being rehabbed. That tank, that hydrodynamic tank, is gone now. We don't need it anymore. We're putting an elevated storage tank just on the other side of the property as well. And so that's Petticoat Schmidt's our contractor, and that's ongoing right now.
Well, is where the pipe is there, the blue pipe?
Correct, right. So the well, typically you'll see right here, it'll be a little concrete pedestal of sorts, and your vertical turbine well, the motor sits vertically on top of the wellhead right here. That's always kind of indicator. And formerly all it did is pump out of the ground. It did go into the tank, and then it went into the system from there. But it was, we had outgrown out there on executing that. And now getting it on the system is going to be tremendous for us. So, yeah, the site's pretty much all cleaned off now. The well's still there. The system.
Significant development in that area, I see all the houses.
Townhomes, yes, sir.
It is, correct. So Southport luxury townhomes
Luxury townhomes.
are adjacent to our property in the background. You can see all those going on.
Are those the expensive ones with the view here?
Yes, so these are at a premium here that they can monitor the project from the back. And when you enter and exit right here, and if it's gotten a little dark on you out there, every one of these security lights turn on as you drive out.
Oh, nice. So you have an
The
escalator?
photo cells on the back side of their property, so it's kind of fun.
Like walking down the frozen island.
Yeah,
The lights come on.
That's right. That's right. Kind of funny. But anyway, a lot of coordination. Obviously a lot of 24/7 activity happening with the plant there. So coordination with the plant ops folks, in coordination with our contractor, very important. Keeping them in the loop, and they're very involved in the bi-weekly meetings and whatnot out there. So another good overview shot there of contractors' job trailer. Well, yeah, supply trailer, I guess I'll call it, not necessarily job trailer. Dumpsters and whatnot, and equipment on site. There's one of the bi-weekly meetings going on with our contractor, Thomas and Hutton, or excuse me, our consultant from Thomas, design engineer, Thomas and Hutton, and also our contractor. A couple operations folks generally will attend, discussing some of the existing utilities out there that we didn't necessarily have really good record drawings on. When that's the case, you got to figure out where things are by digging them up, sometimes unintentionally. So anyway, that's out there, on-site discussion, figuring out.
Once we dig them up unexpectedly, we then get new shots to know where they're exactly at.
Yes, we implore our operations folks, when they dig something up, let us know, so we can go out there and take a GPS shot on it. Then we will know at least that point from here ever after. Put it in mapping. There's Mr. Art there on site, and that is the wellhead. And after it's been cleaned of all the old pumps and the old turbine taken out of it. This old generator in the background is going away too, getting relocated. Big debris pile, that's the old stuff that's come out. A lot of work going on. Okay, next project, elevated storage tank at exit 42. Very proud of this project. We have some motion out there. Site has been cleared. The access road back to the site has been cleared. And we expect foundation work to begin next week out there. The Phoenix Tank is our contractor, our prime, and their sub is out there. Pelly is out there actually with the equipment and whatnot, and they're ready to go.
Do you have a logo on this?
Mm-hmm. Our logo will be on one side, and the Development Authority logo will be on the other side.
That's adjacent to a large warehouse project. I'm sure everybody's aware of.
I drove by there yesterday, I saw
Yeah, if you hadn't been down in that area off 99 and
It looks different these days.
it it looks a lot different almost daily out there. So, but you can see the access roads. Good shot of the access road.
This is the smaller of the two warehouses.
Right.
This one's smaller than the other one.
And there's our site. That's it with it grubbed out. Okay, exit 29, Division 2, which is the elevated storage tank talked about earlier. That's our access. Looking at the property lines, existing does butt up against adjacent neighborhoods. And there's the access road going back in there. It's quite nice.
On this tank will be our logo on one side and Glynn County's logo on the other side.
All right, Division 3 of the 3 divisions for the exit 29 improvements, splost improvements, is connecting our water system together with a couple strategic loops in there. And this is going to be a loop that runs through between 2 neighborhoods, connecting them and getting redundancy and better water availability to those neighborhoods. Planting Hammock and Cinder Hill. All right, that's the balance of the pictures. And then we do have the detail sheet as normal with the detail, dollar amounts, all that kind of good stuff. And then very end, we do have our Gantt chart as well, showing schedules. What's handy for that is looking back and see when projects actually kicked off. These days, it seems schedules are very fluid, constantly being updated, we'll say. Happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Todd. Tell me, on page 17, what'd you say that PVC pipe sticking up so high was?
The one sticking up in Brunswick Villas?
Yeah.
That's a marker pipe. Yeah. So, yes, sir. So what that is,
It will be available.
I don't know why it's that tall.
That's done through a third party, but yeah, as soon as it's built.
What this does
they'll
is
show up.
we did 6-inch combined laterals in some cases where it made sense on a property line.
Yeah, but why is it so high?
I can't. I don't have a good answer, Chairman.
That's the one.
I think they're holding. I think they're holding this line up. Is what they're doing. There's a
Oh,
droopy.
holding up the power line?
Yes, sir. There's a droopy telephone
Okay.
line or something there. I think it just
All right,
propped it up.
okay.
Yeah, I was being a little funny with that. Yeah, but what it out in front, these combined.
They charge you.
These combined laterals right here, we'll have a clean out. It's a 6-inch clean out, 4 residential. So, but I suspect in this case, it's actually holding up the power line or telephone line. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a motion to adjourn?
So we need to go to executive session, sorry, for property.
Executive session?
Yep.
Can I have a motion to go into executive session?
Sir?
Go into executive
I'll make a
session.
motion that we go to executive session for property discussion.
I'll second.
Favor? Motion carries 5-0. So we're gonna go in that.
I want to know who the smarty was that put the
Musical chairs.
You can even see it.
Yeah.
Chairman, I'll make a motion, we come out of executive session, back into regular session.
Second.
All in favor? Carries. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
He's adjourned. Thank you.